It's time for the main event. It's the Shoe Shine.
No, they want to see me doing bad, but I'm good.
¿Qué onda, vatos locos? Damas y caballeros, it's your boy Dave in the 702 coming back at you for that Monday night boxing recap known as the Shoe Shine. All right, as you guys can see, I'll be riding solo tonight. I wanted to get a lot of stuff off my chest. My homie co-host, Philly Irish Drew Evo, is busy working some overtime on the mean streets of Philadelphia. A shame. Hopefully he'll be able to join us later. I will be having my phone line open. If you do feel so inclined to give a call and be a co-host tonight, you guys can call the direct line at 702-710-3627. Happy Mexican Independence Day to all my Mexicanos and Mexican Americans. I will be having a celebratory tequila shot, one of my favorite silver tequilas here. Cimarron. You guys can get this if you guys are in California or Nevada. You guys can get this. This is 100% all natural, meaning no additives. One of my favorite tequilas to make mixed cocktails. And I'm going to go ahead and have a quick shout out. Yeah, shout out to Boxing Magic Mix side down in the 619. And by the way, I was chilling with all my homies from the 619 that came to see the Canelo Alvarez fight and be here for the festivities this weekend. Shout out to Fonzie 619. Yo, if you guys have been to Vegas, this Nacho Daddy place is kind of a gimmicky tourist spot. But Fonzie's homeboy was like, yo, let's go do the scorpion shots this weekend on Fremont Street in downtown, which I had never done a scorpion shot. And actually, I ended up doing 2 scorpion shots, and I got a video of it. I'm going to be putting together a vlog this week. Shout out SB, Team Batman Boxing. Appreciate you guys. To Mexico. Of course, it's Mexican Independence Day, so I'll be having a shot just to get the nerves off because I'm not used to podcasting by myself, guys. I really don't like, as much as it seems like I talk over Drew all the time, I don't really enjoy doing the show by myself, which is why I have a co-host. That's why I said if you guys want to do, call the 702-710-3627. Here's to all my Mexicanos, all the raza, and all the supporters of Shoe Shine Boxing. Nice. Like I was saying, we went down to Nacho Daddy, and I did 2 scorpion shots. Man, you guys got to watch the video once I put that together. It should be out on my page later this week. Las Vegas was banana, guys. As a Vegas local now, this was the biggest weekend. I went down on Wednesday, and I appreciate everybody that checked out my live stream from the MGM Grand on Wednesday, checking out the Media Day workout. Right away, I noticed Wednesday, guys, unlike Cinco de Mayo, where Canelo Alvarez also headlined, that one was kind of empty. This one, I had already noticed on Tuesday night that a lot of people started coming in early to Vegas, which is nothing but a good sign. It's a very healthy sign. I talked about that on the roundtable with Joe Habib and D-Style. Shout out to Roberto Diaz was there. Michael Montero was on the panel. A great panel last Thursday where most of us got the entire card more or less right. I don't think there was anything unexpected. What was unexpected was that Edgar Berlanga, he beat the expectations. And I have to argue and ask this question of everybody, obviously, when we get to the main topic is, has Edgar Berlanga's star been born? He certainly beat the expectations. I thought Canelo was going to end his lack of knockout streak. But to be honest, he didn't do it. And you know who else didn't do it is the 49ers, my Niner gang. We have not been able to beat the Minnesota Vikings since 1992 in Minnesota. When will we see another Canelo knockout? It may very well be this year, guys, as rumor is that Canelo is looking to maybe take an easy fight, if this wasn't an easy fight, in December in Japan. And against who? Well, that remains to be seen. For now, Canelo expressed that he's going to be looking at things and just taking it, like he always does after a major fight. He says he's going to spend time with his family and whatnot, and he'll get around to letting us know. But the story is that, Edgar Berlanga beat the expectations. And what people thought was going to be a lousy undercard came out to be kind of predictable. What is really, really shocking is the rumors already are going around that this fight may have sold 750,000 pay-per-views. And even people like Marcos Villegas, a very well-known reporter here with Fight Hub, one of the biggest boxing channels on YouTube, he even seems to be believing it from what I'm reading on Twitter. 750,000 pay-per-views. Go ahead and drop it in the chat if you guys think that's cap or if that's realistic. Like I said, well, I haven't even said it. Let's be frank. Canelo Alvarez sold out the T-Mobile Arena to over 20,000 people with a gate of over $22 million. And congratulations to the UFC who held their own. Here you have some of the cast of the UFC's Noche at the Sphere, the first ever combat event held at the Sphere. And of course, one of my favorite fighters that I like, this UFC guy, Rojas. And then there was this kid here from Mexico City with the sombrero. I think they both came out victorious. So shout out to them and all the boxing media that actually went to that card. Wow, surprising. Terrence Bud Crawford was in attendance. Oscar De La Hoya. Quite a lot of people went over to see that UFC event. Santiago Media says 750,000. No wonder they were hugging like best friends after the fight. Edgar Berlanga exceeded expectations and made for an entertaining fight. Shout out to Rhonda. Appreciate everybody hopping in the room. I appreciate y'all. Make sure you hit that like button so I can get going here on the algorithm by myself. All right. Them title fights were garbage. All right. The chat is moving really quickly. I appreciate that. The clickbait is going crazy right now. Well, I wish I could get some of that attention right now, man, because I don't, my thumbnails ain't fire, man. I could use all the help I can get. And like I said, I've got the phone line open. Team Batman Boxing, he says, there is a Japanese fighter at 168 and also ranked 48th in the world by BoxRec, maybe even Eubanks Jr. in Japan. Yeah, Eubank Jr. definitely seems like an opponent that may still be on the table. What's most important about this 168-pound division is now that we've seen a lot of these young guys and former champions like Caleb Plant come back, is that this division actually has a lot of potential to have some very exciting fights. And I'm going to get into some of those combination of fights that I think could be very exciting because let's face it, Canelo Alvarez has expressed the importance of rematching Bivol now at 175. He's expressing his interest in who wins that fight and moving back up to face the winner, whether it's Beterbiev or Bivol moving up to 175. That puts the kibosh on David Benavidez' plans. That puts the kibosh on David Morrell's plans of potentially getting an opportunity. Canelo Alvarez is undoubtedly still the face of boxing. And I think he proved it damn well. This weekend in Las Vegas was epic. As a local, I have to tell you, downtown Fremont Street was electric. They put on events. They had all Latin bands. For the most part, they had a lot of Latin bands downtown. And the Strip was catering to the heavy Mexican and Mexican-American demographic. And both of these events were successful and sold out. Can't beat that. Let me take you guys back to Wednesday night, guys. ProBox. I'm a huge fan of ProBox TV, obviously. You've got the likes of Tim Bradley. You've got Paulie Malignaggi. And you got Stockton 209. Guys, I think Lester Martinez is a 168-pound fighter that I wanted to see fight. And somehow something happened. And so Stockton, California's Vladimir Hernandez, who already is in a potential Fight of the Year contender on Wednesday, was elevated to the main event. And I want to give praise to Vladimir Hernandez because, again, he was in another Fight of the Year type contender fight, representing Stockton, representing Mexico. 3 knockdowns exchanged. Vladimir Hernandez comes out victorious. This is a guy who's faced so many young contenders, hungry lions at the 154-pound division. And even though he's in his 30s, he's still proven to be a guy who can headline and entertain. He's come up short against fighters like Jesus Ramos Jr., but hey, put him in with the right people, and he's giving you Fight of the Year type contenders. So congratulations to Vladimir Hernandez representing Stockton's 209. Now, you guys know very well that Raleigh Rolando Romero was on this card, and he was fighting Stockton, California, but born out of and raised in San Jose, California, Manuel Jaimes. Okay, who I thought was going to be the upset of the night. I watched a lot of tape on Manuel. I had talked to Lukey Boxing earlier a few months back about it. He was telling me all great things. Manuel James, unfortunately, unlike Vladimir Hernandez of the 209 of Stockton, looked like he didn't come to fight. because this was a fight that I think was very winnable for Manuel Jaimes, who was moving up from 135 to 140 to fight Rolly Romero. And unfortunately, it didn't look like he came to fight. In many of those rounds, guys, less than 10 punches were landed for Manuel James, and it was a fight that he really could have won. Rolando Rolly Romero out of Las Vegas, you guys have seen he got knocked out recently by Pitbull Cruz. He was annihilated by, knocked out very heavily by Tank Davis, and this was an opportunity for Manuel James to come up and put his name in the mix and say, hey, I've arrived. I'm no longer a club fighter. And shout out to Suntel Media. Yeah, man, I was rooting for Manuel Jaimes because he did this training camp at Robert Garcia Academy. And unfortunately, this is very sad for Northern California fans, but not only did Manuel Jaimes come up short, but I mentioned it that I saw Ruben Villa of Salinas, California. Ruben Villa, 126-pound featherweight contender, also came up massively short after being at Robert Garcia Boxing Academy for his sparring. And I don't know why, guys. I don't know why the Northern California fighters aren't having the luck that they should be having. You know, speaking of Northern California fighters, in that ProBox event, Joe Sean, he was supposed to fight Lester Martinez on the main event, and I hope to see Joe Sean, a very strong middleweight, super middleweight fighter on the up and up, a guy who's still not signed with a major promoter. Had he beaten Lester Martinez last Wednesday, had they actually fought on that main event of ProBox, the doors would have been wide open for Sacramento's Joe Sean. So I look forward to them actually going through with that fight. Guys, if I'm not reading the chat so much, it's because I'm trying to get my consciousness, get my thought going here. But I did hear, guys, by the way, I see Matty Garcia, shout out to you. Diddy is in jail. Thank God that pervert freak has been arrested finally, right? And also I saw that comment that I should drop another shot in 30 minutes. Yeah, it is Mexican Independence Day, but I might end up singing mariachi. Go ahead and make sure you guys hit that like. I got 15 likes right now. And a thumbs down. A thumbs down for what? Who's giving me a thumbs fucking down? For what? For taking a shot? Is it because Drew Evo's not in the house? I told Drew to call me when he's when he's ready, if he's ready. All right, guys, let's get into that fight. Rolly Romero, a very beatable fight for Rolly Romero, a very winnable fight for Rolly Romero, something that easily puts himself back into the win column. But I've got to ask the chat, those guys that have been watching Rolly Romero, at 140 pounds, he needed to get back into the win column. He obviously did not look great in his most recent fights. Pitbull Cruz, knocked him out and whatnot. He desperately needed to get back into the win column. Now that he's back in the win column, but looked so beatable, even under the tutelage of Salas Boxing Academy, the great Cuban boxing coach here that also trains so many other world champions. I don't know if he's improving or continuing to regress, or they just did really, really good matchmaking at PBC to pick Manuel Jaimes, who obviously was not ready for the limelight, who seemed timid to get countered by the heavy hands of Rolly Romero. This was a winnable fight, as I said, but now at 140 pounds, where does Rolly Romero go? He arguably lost to Ismael Barrosos from Venezuela, the 40-plus-year-old 140-pound fighter. He's been knocked out by Pitbull Cruz, and now he beats a guy from Stockton and San Jose, like I said, born in San Jose, who is just coming off the club boxing scene. So, yeah, Rolly Romero comes away with an expected win. Manuel Jaimes was the underdog. I was rooting for the guy, and I was clearly wrong. He didn't pull it off. He didn't pull that one off. All right, but the card seemed very predictable, guys. A lot of people leading up to this card were complaining that $89.99 was a very steep price for this pay-per-view, considering the caliber of fights that were on this card. Speaking of Drew Evo, Philadelphia's Stephen Fulton makes his return. Stephen Fulton makes his return now at 126 pounds after fighting the monster Inoue in Japan and being knocked out by the monster. Former 122-pound champion out of Philadelphia, Stephen Fulton, who is trained by, everyone knows he's trained by Boots Ennis' dad. A great team, makes his debut, and Castro drops him. Narrowly evades a major catastrophic loss. Castro is someone that I believe had been knocked out by Omar Figueroa's brother at 122. or 126 recently. So it's not a guy that should have knocked down Stephen Fulton, but Stephen Fulton got into some serious trouble early on. Lucky for him and his team, he managed to make the adjustments that were necessary. And Stephen Fulton puts himself back into the win column. Now, Stephen Fulton says he's back and that he's better than over, but obviously Stephen Fulton shook off some serious rust in this fight. He thinks he's back and better than ever. And I got to ask you guys, for those of you that watch it, Stephen Fulton, that long layoff coming after that knockout loss to Inoue could not have been good. Obviously, the first few rounds were evidence of that, but he made the adjustments, the type of adjustments that a champion needs to make. Stephen Fulton says, I feel better, but this is my first fight back in 14 months. Ring rust is out of the way, and I feel like I did an amazing job. So what do you guys think? 14 months is a very long layoff. Caleb Plant, who we're going to get to, obviously a huge, long layoff after the David Benavidez loss. Caleb Plant also looks like hot garbage to start off the night, makes the adjustments a former world champion should make, and comes away with a great victory. I'm going to get to that McCumbee versus Plant fight actually, we're going to be getting into it next. Let me just take a sip of water. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Just a quick reminder, I am got the phone lines open. I will be taking one more shot before I get off the air. Stephen Fulton comes off victorious. Rolly Romero comes out victorious. Stephen Fulton of Philadelphia comes out victorious. Just one of the Philadelphia fighters on that card. By the way, if anybody is watching the Eagles game, can you guys give me a score? What's going on with the Philly Eagles game? I mentioned the 49ers looked like hot garbage. Everything about them looked absolutely awful. They haven't beat the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota since 1992, and Brock Purdy was not going to beat that. He was just, I don't know. The Vikings got our number in Minnesota. Nerd, shout out to Nerd. He says Fulton gets another gift. His first was against Brandon Figueroa. The thing is, the gig is up. Everyone knows this dude ain't it. Yeah, I definitely remember that first fight. Appreciate the comment, Nerd. Stephen Fulton did manage to pull off this win. He was awarded the win in a very tough fight. One that could have been disastrous at his debut at featherweight. And with so much talent at featherweight, you have to wonder how he's going to stack up against the current list of champions at featherweight. You now have a former champion in the 126 division. And a lot of guys have made that transition and made that transition well, including Mexican fighters like Emmanuel Navarrete. That all remains to be seen, the path that Stephen Fulton goes later on. Thank you, Rhonda. She says Eagles are up 21-15, 6 points in the fourth quarter with 1 minute left. 1 minute left. All right. Shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles playing at home. Atlanta Falcons beating the Atlanta Falcons most likely. And it's a strange start to the football season. And by the way, guys, I do intend to come back with Tailgate Talk sometime this week. We got to schedule that in here. So, all right, guys. We talked about Vladimir Hernandez on ProBox. We talked about Rolando Romero just narrowly escaping a loss because Manuel Jaimes really didn't come to fight. And he had a relatively easy night working off that kid from the 209. We talked about Stephen Fulton narrowly escaping a potential loss, coming back, rallying back, making the necessary adjustments. And now that brings us to Caleb Plant versus McCumbee, guys. Caleb Plant, the former champion, in what was a very entertaining fight for Caleb Plant and McCumbee. I want to give a huge shout out, guys. You guys, I know I've had this intro for a very long time, but I befriended one of the guys that's in my intro, a fighter by the name of Francisco Esparza from Las Vegas. Francisco Esparza had to retire early from the sport of boxing because of some very scary concussion MRIs that he had just when he was ready to sign a new contract with Top Rank. I've told this story and shared it. He was sent for some MRIs and they came back with some very scary stuff. And that was the end of his boxing career, just as he was about to sign a new deal with Top Rank. Actually saw him on the same card when Shakur Stevenson won his featherweight title in Reno. Guys, my boy Francisco Esparza, even after leaving the sport of boxing, did you catch my boy in the corner? Francisco Esparza, shout out to you from Las Vegas, in the corner of McCumbee with McCumbee as his assist. In the corner, and then it was Bones Adam. Francisco Esparza's last trainer, aside from Ferros Vargas, was Bones Adam. He was working out of Bones Adams, and Bones Adam was the trainer for McCombie. So shout out to my boy Francisco Esparza for still being in the business, man. Boxing, obviously, you know, he was pulled away from the sport. He didn't want to, but it even happens in the NFL, guys. You know, you guys have been watching Tua and what's been going on with Tua in Miami. It looks like his career in football might be ending premature as well with all the concussions Tua's been taking. But I was very pleased to see my boy in the corner of McCombie. Now, McCombie was a big underdog, but if you watch ProBox on Wednesday nights, like I'm a huge fan of ProBox on YouTube here, I talked about it. McCombie had some spectacular fights. And like a lot of the fighters who are on ProBox, when they have spectacular fights, they get big opportunities on the big stages. Yes, Rhonda, I did do Muay Thai and amateur boxing. So yes, shout out to McCombie, who, I mean, let's talk about that fight. McCombie did not get the nod in what looked like one of the first early knockdowns, guys. You saw Caleb Plant having a lot of ring rust early on, holding on for dear life after he was caught with a shot where he actually fell afterwards. And that, in my opinion, should have been scored a knockdown. One of two knockdowns. But Caleb Plant, like a true champion, man, the hand speed, the accuracy, the body work, the adjustment in the game plan showed why he was a former world champion, someone that was worthy to be in the ring with Canelo Alvarez. Nerd says Plant showed levels, but that also showed less punch resistance. The Canelo and Benavidez beatdown has taken its toll. And that's something that happens, guys, when people get into serious beatdowns like he has with Canelo and David Benavidez. He still has the hand speed, he has the accuracy, but the punch resistance, yeah, for McCombie's a strong guy, guys. McCombie was very strong. He had a very nice amateur career. He was signed to Top Rank early on in his career. Then he had a very long layoff after he was busted with PEDs himself. McCombie was busted with PEDs. I think nearly 2 years were taken up in his career over PEDs, and then a very long layoff where he was promoterless. Gets himself back onto ProBox with some big wins and exhibiting some power there, and he gets an opportunity against Caleb Plant. Not ready for the limelight potentially, maybe not. We're not ready for this level of talent against Caleb Plant. But Nerd makes a great point. Caleb Plant's punch resistance does seem to be fading as he approaches his early 30s, almost approaching Canelo Alvarez's age. But Caleb Plant, by coming back and winning a very, very tough fight and actually stopping McCombie, well, you can't help but think, how does he stack up against the current list of 168-pound contenders, people that have also shared the ring with Canelo Alvarez, fighters like Jaime Munguia, fighters like Edgar Berlanga, who was on the card, who came away a loser, but still a winner in the moral sense? How does Caleb Plant stack up? Because so long as Caleb Plant comes away winning like that, making adjustments, he's still in play as a player, as a big player at 168. And all of a sudden, I'm starting to wonder, who else could Caleb Plant fight next? Obviously, the first one is because they were on the same bill. Edgar Berlanga versus Caleb Plant. A mega fight, a very good fight. Caleb Plant versus Jaime Munguia. A very good fight. A very good fight. Caleb Plant versus Christian Mbili. A very, very good fight. Caleb Plant versus Canelo Alvarez 2? No, I don't think so. He was stopped by him. But Caleb Plant versus anybody in this division, obviously him being a former world champion, fighters like Jaime Munguia, fighters like who we just saw, Edgar Berlanga. Then we have a slew of younger guys like Christian Mbili and whatnot, William Skull. They're going to want to put Caleb Plant on their resume, and they're going to be chasing opportunities like that. Shout out to everybody joining us, Mom Food Plan and things. I appreciate you hopping in here, just going over some of the big fights that happened this weekend. So, yeah, Munguia versus Caleb Plant, another great potential fight. And by the way, guys, Friday night, boxing starts again. On Friday night, we're getting a treat. Jaime Munguia makes his debut on ESPN. Even though Oscar De La Hoya said, Jaime is still with me. Jaime, I don't know what you guys think. Somebody give me the facts. Is Jaime Munguia still have a contract with Oscar De La Hoya as his promoter? Because it looks like he's full-blown now with Top Rank. And we're going to get a big treat this Friday because it is his fight week, and that takes place this Friday night on ESPN. 168-pound contender Jaime Munguia, whose only loss comes to Canelo Alvarez from the Cinco de Mayo. We're getting all these great 168-pound contenders back to back. They're fresh in our minds. We could compare. We could look and talk about these fights. Obviously, Macumbi Plant turned out to be a very entertaining fight. Plant and Macumbi exchanging some words. I think Macumbi gained the respect of Caleb Plant. Macumbi came to fight. Macumbi really, in my opinion, knocked him down twice, but Caleb Plant came away showing the true champion that he is, levels above Macumbi. But now Macumbi, even as a loser, Macumbi puts himself in the conversation, in a very important conversation, because already we're hearing that Berlanga is potentially, Eddie Hearn is talking about Berlanga fighting in Puerto Rico this coming February, which is right around the corner. And he's going to need somebody who has a bit of a name, who could look dangerous, who looks good on paper. And I think it's going to be Macumbi, guys. Now, I would love to see Edgar Berlanga in a mega fight, but there is no way that Jaime Munguia, who's an equally bigger star, but probably a bigger star than Edgar Berlanga, there's no way you're going to entice Jaime Munguia to go to fight you in Puerto Rico when Jaime Munguia is equally, or if not a bigger star than Edgar Berlanga. That puts him out of the equation. Christian Mbili, a Quebec fighter from Canada, who is on the verge of securing a potential matchup with Canelo Alvarez, also is not going to risk it and go to Puerto Rico to fight Edgar Berlanga in Edgar Berlanga's debut at home in Puerto Rico. Not going to happen. What is plausible is Macumbi, who's really promoterless. He's promoterless. As far as I understand, he doesn't have a major promoter backing him. And Macumbi, he seems perfect for the bill, man. A very tough, durable guy with some power, but maybe, his skill set isn't at the elite of the division. But he's got a name right now. Everybody's going to remember this big fight that he was there, and he makes a very solid opponent. Plant becoming BFF with Macumbi too, says Sonteo Media. Yeah, and Sonteo Media also says, I wish I knew the truth about Munguia's situation. I do too. Hopefully they're going to allude to some of that this Friday night on ESPN. So shout out to everybody joining me in the chat. I appreciate it. 30 likes, 1 thumb down. Who gave me the thumb down? Shit, just because I'm by myself? All right, drop it in the chat if you guys want to see me take one more shot before we get on to the main event. Like I mentioned, we have some amazing boxing this weekend. In fact, I got to come back this week and figure this out with Drew, because we got to preview the Jaime Munguia fight this Friday night. And obviously Saturday during the day, we are going to have Riyadh season with Anthony Joshua heavyweights versus Dubois for a cheap $19.99, the debut of the $20 pay-per-view. If that's not a reason to drink and celebrate, $20 to watch a fight after spending $89.99. Man. Hey, Juan Pagoda, I appreciate somebody new in here. He says, what do you think about Tank versus Rayo? Well, first of all, we've got some close friends here, Robert Garcia, in this very chat. And I think Rayo, I'm a huge fan of that kid. We interviewed him, and I remember I made him laugh when I asked him about the Mexican food situation in Seattle. You guys know that Rayo was with David Benavidez and David's father for a long time in Seattle. But man, under the tutelage of Robert Garcia and that long training camp, they just made him the best fighter he can be. They made Rayo, he's fighting at 110% of who he can be, and that's now a world champion. To upset Pitbull Cruz that way and execute a perfect game plan, shout out to Rayo, man. Could he beat Tank? It's a great fight. It's actually a great fight. First of all, Rayo's willing to fight him. Hopefully there's no catch weight. The 140-pound title is on the line. We already saw Tank beat a much, much bigger Mario Barrios at 140. And shout out to Mario Barrios and Abel Ramos. We've interviewed Jesus Ramos Jr. before. Abel Ramos, you guys, and Mario Barrios have just agreed to fight on Netflix November 15th. Let me get that graphic up. That is breaking news today, that Mario Barrios, who was supposedly rumored to be looking to fight Manny Pacquiao. I know, guys, Manny Pacquiao. Come on, Mario. I met Mario here recently. I'm happy for this. Okay, Abel Ramos has been in there with everybody. He's the uncle of Jesus Ramos Jr. out of Arizona. Ton of experience. A guy who's fought for the title a couple times, come up short, but always puts on a good fight. This is a good welterweight fight. It's a good welterweight fight, and it's going to be for free on the net. So long as you have Netflix, this has been announced to be on the main event with Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, November the 15th. I'm excited for this one, man. It's a legitimate title fight. Shout out to both of them. And yeah, Juan, I think Tank versus Rayo is an excellent fight. And if Rayo can get that big paycheck, hey, all power to you, man. He's got one loss. When he's been in a firefight, he was in a firefight against a Dominican fighter. It didn't play well in his favor. So long as he doesn't get crazy like that and box the way he did against Pitbull Cruz, it could be a very good fight. Very good fight. Packable, shout out to Packable and your beautiful wife. Here goes my second shot. We'll see if I start slurring after that. It is Mexican Independence Day. Oh, yeah. I'm almost ready to sing some mariachi. Let's get into it. The main event, Canelo Alvarez is still, let me get this graphic out here. And by the way, guys, I do have the phone line open. Appreciate that, Wile Coyote. Cheers. Yes, indeed. I'll be putting this tequila away because I don't need to drink more than that on a Monday night. By the way, guys, those of you guys that appreciate my other content, if you have not already checked out my new Vegas vlogs, I did 3 Vegas vlogs in a row showing you some of the best. And I'm getting a really good response on those Vegas vlogs to the point where I'm just considering starting a fucking food review channel because people love to watch people eat on YouTube. They like to watch people eat on YouTube more than they like to watch people talk about boxing. So maybe that's my calling. Go check those out. Leave me a comment on those. There will be more of those to come. All right, Canelo Alvarez is the face of boxing. I don't care what you say. He proved it again and again. And even though he's 34 years old, he still managed to hit Edgar Berlanga in the 4th round with one of the hardest left hooks in the entire sport of boxing. Unbelievable chin resistance by Edgar Berlanga. We've seen him get dropped against fighters like Casares. But to take this punch from Canelo Alvarez, to take this left hook in the 4th round, and it was actually just a flash knockdown. When you saw him hit the gloves, like, fuck. He had been preparing to not get hit by that punch. And he knows he gets hit by that punch. But it doesn't have the same type of damage that earlier in Canelo's career when he fought guys at that level of Berlanga's level. It was over. It was game over. It was fantastic how Berlanga rallied back after that. Got up off the floor. It was just a flash knockdown. And you know that Canelo Alvarez had only a certain amount of time while Berlanga was shook to finish and get the job done. And most of us pundits, me included, thought that Canelo was going to end this fight. I think my prediction was the 7th round on the round table, that he could finish Edgar Berlanga. And when I saw that he wasn't able to do it in the same round where he hurt him and dropped him with a vicious left hook, I looked at my wife and I was like, it's going to be a long night. It's going to be a long night because Edgar Berlanga is a big kid. Not only is he a big kid, he's massive. 193 pounds. 193 pounds. Guys, Canelo Alvarez told many reporters earlier in the year, he said the only thing David Benavidez brought to the table was an extra 25 pounds. But Edgar Berlanga, 6'1", 193 pounds, rehydrated to 193. Where's that picture of this weight? Yo, let me just say, he's a big super middleweight. There's no doubt in my mind that Edgar Berlanga is going to be a light heavyweight fighter and probably be a very good light heavyweight fighter at that point, at some point in his career, as he grows out of his frame at 168, approaching his early 30s or 30. He's a big kid, and the size on him and his strength and conditioning coach, Angel Memo Heredia, guys, who is he was involved in the Balco steroid scandal of the past. He kind of has a history of being a whistleblower and testifying because of his knowledge. A lot of people still cast aspersions on Angel Memo Heredia, but the fact of it is Angel Memo Heredia got David Benavidez in the most incredible shape that I've ever seen David Benavidez at 168. You know, David Benavidez struggles with that skinny, fat physique. the kind of physique I actually have, of skinny fat, and got abs on David Benavidez. Angel Memo Heredia got Edgar Berlanga in the best conditioning he could, which allowed him to survive all 12 rounds. 12 rounds. While the Coyote says, my kid's son is 15 and 190. Man, he should be playing football or getting in combat sports. Why not, right? This fight exceeded the expectations because Edgar Berlanga was able to show punch resistance for an entire 12 rounds. But I got to ask you guys, I got to think. You look at the CompuBox, all right? And you look at the scorecards and you know that it was a blowout, right? For the most part. If you just look at stats, the stats never tell the entire story. In the 12th round, Edgar Berlanga landed 12 of 46 in the championship rounds. Canelo doesn't get hit that much, and we saw his face react to some of these punches. Canelo Alvarez was marked up. I think by the 11-12th round, you see that Berlanga landed 12 in the 10th, 12 in the 11th, and 12 punches. He was averaging about 40 punches. Canelo Alvarez also averaging now, at this point in his career, in his 30s, now averaging 40 to 50 punches, but Canelo Alvarez landing with 50% accuracy. That's all he needs to bust you up. But the question is, what happened to Canelo's knockout power? He just can't finish guys like he used to finish guys. And as he's fighting these younger fighters like Edgar Berlanga, that are hitting their peak physical man strength. Fighters like Edgar Berlanga, who I, as a pundit, didn't expect to make the final bell, is making the final bell. Guys are making the final bell. Jaime Munguia is making the final bell. Even John Ryder, a bastard that's too tough for his own good, went the distance against Canelo Alvarez in Guadalajara, even though he took a beating, even though he lost almost every round. If he did not lose every round, put on a good show, and that's where we're at. Edgar Berlanga won a moral victory this weekend because he was able to be part of a big show. Every interview he had, he sold the fight. Press week, he said all the right things. He kept praising the Mexican and Mexican-American fan base. He treated the Mexicanos with a lot of respect. He came to Las Vegas, which is Canelo's second home. Canelo Alvarez says Vegas is my second home. And Canelo, if you ever need a realtor, as soon as I get my license, please let me buy you a house. Let me get you a house next to Oscar de la Hoya and Henderson. We'll make sure that your house looks way better than Oscar's $16 million Henderson mansion. Canelo Alvarez has Las Vegas as his second home. Edgar Berlanga comes, says all the right things to sell the fight, to get the interest. Did they really get 750,000 pay-per-views? I don't know how they fudged the numbers, but it exceeded expectations. It might actually have done that. And it just reiterates the fact that Mexico versus Puerto Rico is still very much a valid, sellable structure to combat sports fans. You take the oldest rivalry in boxing, the best rivalry in boxing, between the face of boxing, which is undoubtedly still Canelo Alvarez, and a young, hungry Puerto Rican lion in whoever it is. In this case, it was Edgar Berlanga. And it's going to sell. And Edgar Berlanga, by exceeding expectations, by coming up with a moral victory, by making it all 12 rounds and getting off the canvas and fighting in spurts and connecting in spots and using the jab to not completely get blown out by Canelo or completely get beaten up. I mean, his face looked pretty good at the end of the fight. It made for a great night. It's hard to understand how a fight with these numbers where one judge gave Edgar Berlanga 3 rounds, but the other 2 judges said he didn't win a single fucking round. How could that be entertaining? Could that be competitive? It was. Just like John Ryder was entertaining, even though he got his ass beat, made it to the final belt. He made it entertaining because they showed a lot of heart. Edgar Berlanga showed a lot of heart. He talked shit in the ring. He egged on Canelo. He made it rough. He made it dirty. He showed that he wasn't there to lay down. First of all, he tried. He tried in numerous spots. He couldn't execute a game plan to beat him. I don't think he ever really believed he could beat Canelo, but he didn't come to get his ass beat. And that in itself, as a moral victory, puts him now in a position where I am arguing that Berlanga went from a fighter that I've ridiculed, talked shit about, has now earned my respect and earned the respect of a lot of fans. And quite honestly, again, you hear him in his post-fight speeches praising the Mexican and Mexican-American fan base. Viva Mexico, cabrones! Praising that fan base. He made a fan of a lot of Mexican people that night. He showed respect to Canelo. He let Canelo know, you're my idol, almost in tears to say, wow, you were my idol. You were my inspiration as a young child. You know, they've got 10 years. They're probably closer to 5 to 10 years in age. And he said, you were my hero when I was an amateur, and you were who I looked up to. You still are a hero. He fought his hero, and he walked out of that ring with his head up high. Edgar Berlanga is a potential new star. And let's not make no mistake about it. You could do this all over again. Edgar Berlanga versus Jaime Munguia. Edgar Berlanga versus Jaime Munguia. Wiley Coyote says, Oscar's clapback Thursday was hilarious. And by the way, Oscar is promising that this Thursday is going to be the most epic clapback Thursday. Now, I don't know how you can get more epic than coming out in a thong and bikini. What, is he going to come out nude? Is Oscar coming out nude with a little is he going to come out with the fit? He promises this Thursday will be the most epic one. But let's be real. Oscar's in a very bad place right now where he hates Canelo Alvarez. And the people still love Canelo Alvarez. Is it wise to keep hating on him? At some point, those two are probably going to end up in legal court again over slander. They keep accusing each other of slander. It just can't. Am I a fan of Clapback Thursday? It's very entertaining. In a sport that seems to be dying, the sport showed us again why it is the best sport in the world this past Saturday. There is no better sport. That's why I even have a YouTube channel, is because I love this sport so much. There is no greater sport that displays the full capability of what a human is able to accomplish. Not a team sport. What one sole human being is able to accomplish in the ring. It's the most beautiful, violent sport there is. It's my favorite sport. It is not dying. Shout out to everybody joining us. I see Sin City Syndicate. Shout out to you, who says, by the way, that Lindo Michoacan is shit food, so I'm waiting for you to take me to a good Mexican restaurant in Las Vegas. I'm waiting. All right. And shout out to Veronica joining me too. Oscar De La Hoya. Yeah, he's something else. Something else. Veronica says, so you're not on the Berlanga bandwagon? Berlanga. Did you just not hear what I said, Veronica? Edgar Berlanga's star is born. He's just put himself in the mix in the 168-pound division. Even Canelo Alvarez said and looked over to him and said, you might be world champion. I think I heard him say, you might be world champion. You're going to be a world champion someday. When Canelo Alvarez is done with the division, not at the moment. There's only one vacant belt. That's the IBF belt that William Skoll is going to be fighting for. An unknown German-Cuban, William Skoll, will be fighting for that vacant IBF belt. To be honest, I don't know why Canelo Alvarez just doesn't fight William Skoll, who, in my opinion, is way more of a bum than Berlanga. William Skoll hasn't proved anything. He might as well fight him in December in Japan and get the IBF to approve that fight so Canelo can take back all his belts and, again, be undisputed. I wouldn't mind that. If you're looking for an easy fight, Canelo, go ahead. Fight William Skoll this December in Japan. I'm all for that. Appreciate everybody joining me for the Shoe Shine Solo. So, were you guys convinced? Did Edgar Berlanga, by surviving 12 rounds, is a starboard? Is he somehow now a player? I mentioned Jaime Munguia, guys, this Friday. Obviously, Jaime Munguia, he really brought it to Canelo early in those 4 rounds. That's a big difference. Okay, let me compare Edgar Berlanga versus Jaime Munguia. Jaime Munguia actually came to try to hurt Canelo Alvarez in the first 4 rounds until Jaime Munguia was knocked on his ass by an uppercut he didn't see. Much like the punch that Berlanga missed, the left hook, he didn't see the punch, and they paid. Jaime Munguia crumbled after that uppercut. He realized, I'm going to get hurt if I keep fighting with this same approach. So he made an adjustment that made him not only lose the fight, but be not as competitive for many rounds after that in the middle rounds. Edgar Berlanga was never truly, really going to try to beat Canelo. He was very cautious, using the jab in spots, trying to fight off the ropes. Did he do as good as Jaime Munguia? Probably not. Nonetheless, Jaime Munguia, one loss on his record. Edgar Berlanga, whatever you guys want to call him, Edgar Berlanga. This is a fight that boxing fans are going to accept. And if you put it on a Canelo Alvarez main event, Edgar Berlanga versus Jaime Munguia is going to be an exceptional co-main event and easy to market, sell, and get people excited for to be on the co-main, to be the co-main event. And let me stress, the co-main event that I just blew over, I totally completely forgot about Philadelphia's Danny Garcia. And I do want to give my respects to Danny Garcia because 10 years ago, 14, 15 years ago, Danny Garcia was the fucking shit. He not only beat Amir Khan, he held titles at 140 pounds. He held titles at 147 pounds. He fought the very best welterweights and fighters at the 140-pound division in his era. But Danny Garcia, after suffering from a lot of mental health issues, having a lot of money, having a lot of success, taking 2 years off, deciding I'm going to take this championship opportunity at 160, he says, I got to sit back and I got to think about it. This was a horrible co-main event. A 41-year-old Erislandy Lara and a 37-year-old Danny Garcia. Absolutely horrible co-main event. The people in the stands were booing. They had to mute the boos by turning up the music. It was an awful, forgettable middleweight championship title fight, and one that is laughable and despicable. The WBA should not be giving an opportunity to someone who hasn't fought in 2 years a title opportunity. The middleweight division continues to be a joke, which is why I'm wondering. Yeah, shout out to you, Iron Age Ape Garage. He said he got dropped with a hard jab. He quit. He basically said, "Sums off. I accept it. It's not in me anymore. I'm not going to be dropped unconscious. I don't want to be embarrassed out of here. I'm just going to quit while I'm ahead, or not ahead in his case." And 41-year-old Lara still has a title at 160, making it the weakest division in boxing. You had the Ukrainian fighter or the Russian fighter in Janibek miss weight, not even try to make weight in Las Vegas a month ago. It's just a shit show of a fucking division. And Terrence Bud Crawford, who I saw at the UFC event, everybody saw him. They mistaken him with Kendrick Lamar. If he wants to challenge himself, if he doesn't want to fight the kind of guys that are in the 154-pound division, Terrence Crawford could become undisputed. And it's going to be a very difficult road because he's going to have to fight people like Tim Tszyu, who are young, hungry lions. Tim Tszyu could end up needing to fight Virgil Ortiz in the division, or other champions at 154 like the Towering Inferno, who is not an easy fight for anybody. Ask Tim Tszyu. He could move up to 160. Terrence Crawford could move up to 160 and fight the likes of a 40-year-old Lara. In fact, that's exactly what I would be doing. If I was Terrence Crawford, I would be telling Mr. Turki Al-Sheikh, get me a fucking fight with Erislandy Lara. I want that title at 160. And then, and only then, can you parlay a mega fight with Canelo Alvarez, because now you can make the argument, yo, I'm a champion at 160. I am not that far apart from you. I've won titles at 154, 160, and now I'm ready to make that last leap to 168. And I think, guys, a big takeaway from this weekend is that the fight between Terrence Bud Crawford and Canelo Alvarez is not off the table, because as we see, as most of us can see that have been following Canelo's career, he's now fought in Las Vegas for 14 years straight, that he's starting to be over the hill. And with no disrespect, he is not the fighter he was that destroyed the likes of BJ Saunders, broke his orbital bone, the guy that tore the bicep off of Smith, a massive 6'3", 2 fighter, and Smith tore the bicep right off of him, broke the eye socket of BJ Saunders, the guy that knocked out Amir Khan and nothing. This is not the same Canelo. This is the Canelo that needs to go the distance at this point against young, hungry lions. Basically, every fight in the division at 168 could look like this. Whether he's fighting Christian and Billy, whether he fights young, tall fighters that Eddie Hearn has, he has that other kid, or if he ever fights David Benavidez, they're all going to be hard fights from here on. Potentially upset type fights against somebody like David Benavidez. Should David Benavidez ever get that opportunity, they're all going to be tough fights, which is why I don't think the fight with Terrence Crawford is completely off the table. It is a fight that has the potential to sell 1 million pay-per-views. And in this day and age of boxing, it's unheard of to get 1 million pay-per-views. The last time we've seen it was Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia. Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Bud Crawford will sell over 1 million pay-per-views on Cinco de Mayo or Mexican Independence Day. If they can just sway Canelo with the right amount of money and with the argument that Terrence Bud Crawford has a shot, look, Terrence Crawford, like I said, fight Lara, 41, take Lara's middleweight title. Now you got a strong argument to say, hey man, I'm not that far off from you at 168. This is a winnable fight for me. I'm showing you something here. I'm also a division now in 5, 6 divisions? Fucking unreal. Pound for pound, size for size, Terrence Crawford might be a better fighter than Canelo Alvarez. Iron Ape Garage says, Crawford will get his face broken. There are weight classes for a reason. And that's why I don't advocate Terrence Crawford moving up to fight Canelo Alvarez 2 massive weight classes. He just moved up to 154. It's huge. The idea that he wanted to move up 3 weight classes is insane. That's right, Rhonda. Happy Mexican Independence Day. I already had 2 shots. It's very likely Terrence Crawford could get hurt. Taking that amount of punishment from Canelo Alvarez to the body could really get him hurt. He could actually get knocked out. Maybe it's the kind of fight that we want to see where Canelo Alvarez does knock out. There's a lot of people that still think that he's got the ring IQ, the experience to maybe hold his own against Canelo, maybe even outbox him. Is it possible? When is Tailgate Talk? Great question. It should be Thursday. It's a very dangerous fight for Terrence Bud Crawford. So I salute Terrence Bud Crawford for wanting that legacy fight, for wanting an opportunity to even if it's just the first loss on the career of Terrence Bud Crawford, it wouldn't be a blemish at all to what has been an extraordinary first ballot Hall of Fame career. I did not know. Shout out to all the, we're in September. We're about to hit October. It's a great time in Las Vegas to visit, September, October, guys. The weather's absolutely spectacular. This week it's going to be, I think I'm going to hit 80s for the first time ever. It's been 100. We've had over 3 months of 100 plus degrees in Las Vegas. So it's been incredible. I'm going to get ready to wrap up the show, guys. Tailgate Talk will be this week. Shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles. You guys want to see me take another shot? Let me go through some of the chat. I appreciate everybody that has been in here. Like I said, Friday night, we've got great boxing. We've got the return of Jaime Munguia at 168 pounds. We have on Saturday a massive, massive card, Riyadh season for just $19.99. You're going to get to watch Anthony Joshua fight a very game young fighter. Hey, my Alexa's going off here, guys. The hell is my Alexa talking like that? All right, Mom Food, I appreciate you coming in here. She says one more shot. You guys won't hear the music. Alexa, shut up. Yeah, like I was saying, guys, I did the scorpion shot in Las Vegas. That shit was weak. I ate 2 of those scorpions. I have a video on it I'm going to be doing this week. Voz de la guitarra mía, al despertar la mañana, quiero cantar mi alegría a mi tierra mexicana. I fucked that up. I'm going to delete that. Because that sounded like shit. Nah, that was actually my tequila. And I was trying to sing that song in a key that I'm not familiar with. So let me do it. No, karaoke. I'm going to do that because I don't know that key. So I'm going to sing it a cappella right now. But because I got drunk, I forgot my lyrics. So, all right, let's see here. Voz de la guitarra mía, al despertar la mañana, quiere cantar su alegría a mi tierra mexicana. México lindo querido, si muero lejos de ti, que digan que estoy dormido y que me traigan aquí. Que digan que estoy dormido y que me lo... Fuck! México lindo querido, si muero lejos de ti. There it is, guys. Happy Mexican Independence Day. I'm going to edit that part out because I haven't sang in a long time. I appreciate everybody. Tailgate Talk is coming back this week. Please drop a comment. Let Drew know to come back to work. Come back to the Shoe Shine. Until then, peace out, everybody.